The quantum detection array beneath the Atacama Desert registered the anomaly at 3:47 a.m. Earth Standard Time. Commander Rohan Walsh stood before the holographic display, his weathered face illuminated by the pulsing red warning indicators. The signal was unlike anything humanity had ever detected, a massive gravitational distortion moving at impossible speeds toward the solar system. "Run the calculations again," he ordered, though he knew it wouldn't change the result. The array had been his project for the past decade, a sophisticated early warning system designed to detect threats from deep space. Now it was telling him humanity had less than 3 months before first contact. Lieutenant Nadia Santos, his second-in-command, worked furiously at her station. "Sir, the signature matches nothing in our database. Whatever it is, it's big, civilization-scale big." The facility buzzed with controlled chaos as the brightest minds in Earth's defense coalition worked to understand what was heading their way. Rohan had always known this day would come, but nothing could have prepared him for the weight of this moment. A shimmer of light materialized in the center of the command center, and before anyone could react, she appeared. Tall, ethereal, with skin that seemed to shift colors like an aurora, the alien's presence immediately commanded attention. Her name was Zara Kveth, and she would change everything they thought they knew about the universe. "Your detection systems are impressive," she said in perfect English, her voice carrying an otherworldly harmonic. "But they've drawn attention you're not ready for." Instead of chaos, the room fell into an eerie silence. Rohan noticed his personnel seemed dazed, almost entranced, all except him. He felt a strange pressure in his mind, like someone trying to push through a door, but it couldn't gain purchase. "Interesting," Zara said, her iridescent eyes focusing on him. "You're resistant. That's precisely why they're coming." Over the next hours, as Earth's governments scrambled to respond to the situation, Zara revealed the truth. Humanity existed in a galaxy dominated by the Mindweaver Empire, a civilization that had evolved beyond physical constraints to become beings of pure psychic energy. They maintained control through mental manipulation, subtly guiding species toward submission. But humans were different. Something in their neural structure, their consciousness, made them partially resistant to the Empire's influence. This wasn't just first contact, it was a preemptive strike to eliminate a potential threat. "Your species has something we haven't seen in millennia," Zara explained, her form shifting with emotion. "True free will. The Empire sees it as a disease that could spread, destabilizing their control over thousands of worlds." Rohan watched the tactical displays as more anomalies appeared at the edge of their detection range. "Why are you telling us this? Why help us?" Zara's form flickered. "Because I'm part of a resistance movement within the Empire. We've waited centuries for a species like yours, one that could actually fight back." The next weeks were a blur of preparation. Earth's military forces mobilized on a scale never seen before. Zara's knowledge helped them adapt their technology, preparing defenses against psychic attacks. But it was the discovery about human consciousness that changed everything. Dr. Jasmine Patel, the coalition's lead researcher, made the breakthrough. Human consciousness generated a quantum field that naturally disrupted the Empire's psychic abilities. With Zara's help, they began developing ways to amplify this effect. As the deadline approached, Rohan found himself spending more time with Zara, learning about the galaxy and the true nature of the conflict they were about to enter. She was different from her people. She could see beauty in physical existence, in the chaotic nature of free will. "Your species reminds me of what we once were," she told him one evening, as they watched Earth's first psychic-shielded ships launch into orbit. "Before we became so focused on control, we too celebrated the unexpected, the unknown." The first attacks came as probing strikes, attempts to infiltrate Earth's governments through psychic manipulation. But humanity's hastily prepared defenses held. Each failed attempt seemed to drive the Empire into a greater frenzy. "They don't understand why they can't simply reach in and reshape your thoughts," Zara explained. "It terrifies them. 3 months after the initial detection, Earth's long-range sensors detected the main Empire fleet entering the solar system. Thousands of ships, each carrying beings of immense psychic power, ready to eliminate the threat of human free will. But Earth was ready. Humanity's combined fleet, enhanced with Zara's knowledge and protected by their unique consciousness, took up defensive positions. As Rohan stood on the bridge of the flagship, he felt that same pressure in his mind, the Empire's first assault. He looked at Zara, who had chosen to stand with humanity in this moment. Will we survive this? She smiled, her form blazing with determination. That's the beautiful thing about free will, Rohan. The future isn't written yet. As the Empire's fleet approached, humanity prepared to fight for something they had taken for granted, the right to choose their own destiny. The battle for Earth was about to begin, and with it, a revolution that would reshape the galaxy. The orbital shipyards above Earth blazed with continuous activity, humanity's response to existential threat manifesting in steel and quantum shielding. Commander Rohan Walsh observed the construction through the panoramic windows of Orbital Station Alpha, where ships of impossible hybrid design took shape, human ingenuity merged with Zara's advanced knowledge. 37 ships completed, 18 more under construction, Lieutenant Santos reported, her dark eyes fixed on the holographic readouts. The consciousness amplification systems are performing beyond expectations. The hybrid vessels represented humanity's best hope, warships equipped with technology that could turn human resistance to psychic manipulation into an active defense. Each ship carried a crew specifically chosen for their high natural resistance scores, their minds working in concert to create an impenetrable psychic barrier. Zara materialized beside Rohan, her ethereal form dimmer than usual. The Empire is adapting their strategy. They've never failed to subjugate a species before. Their pride is wounded. Their pride might be the least of their problems, Dr. Patel interjected, entering the observation deck with a tablet displaying complex quantum calculations. We've made a breakthrough in understanding why humans are resistant to their control. The discovery was revolutionary. Human consciousness didn't just resist psychic manipulation, it actively disrupted it. Every human mind generated a unique quantum field that, when properly amplified, could create feedback loops in the Empire's psychic network. It wasn't just a shield, it was a weapon. Your species evolved in isolation, Zara explained, her form rippling with excitement. While other races were subtly guided by the Empire's influence over millennia, humanity developed true psychological individuality. Your minds aren't just resistant, they're antagonistic to psychic control. The implications were staggering. Humanity wasn't just fighting for survival, they had the potential to liberate countless enslaved civilizations. The Empire's greatest strength, their psychic dominance, could become their critical weakness. But time was running out. The Empire's main fleet had reached Saturn's orbit, and their advanced scouts were probing Earth's defenses daily. Each attempt to breach humanity's mental barriers provided valuable data for both sides. In the midst of preparation, Rohan found himself drawn more deeply into Zara's world. She taught him about the Empire's history, about how her people had gradually sacrificed their physical forms in pursuit of psychic perfection. But in doing so, they'd lost something essential, the very thing she saw in abundance in humans. We forgot how to change, she told him one night, as they watched Earth rise over the lunar surface. We became so focused on controlling everything that we stopped growing ourselves. Their relationship deepened, complicated by the knowledge that they came from fundamentally different forms of existence. Yet in their differences, they found something unique, a bridge between two ways of being that could reshape the galaxy's future. The first major test of humanity's new defenses came without warning. An Empire scout fleet, larger than previous probing forces, emerged from hyperspace near Mars. 3 human ships, led by Captain Viktor Petrov, engaged them in the first true battle between the species. The result stunned both sides. The human ships, their crews' amplified consciousness working in perfect synchronization, didn't just resist the Empire's psychic attacks, they reflected them back. 2 Empire ships were completely disabled, their psychic crew overwhelmed by the feedback loop of their own power. "This changes everything," Zara whispered, watching the battle data with wide eyes. The Empire's greatest weapon turned against them. But victory came with a price. The strain of maintaining the psychic defense left several crew members comatose, and one of the human ships suffered severe damage. They had proven they could fight back, but the cost was high. Dr. Patel worked tirelessly to refine the consciousness amplification technology, seeking ways to protect the human minds that powered it. "We're asking people to turn their consciousness into a weapon," she explained during a tense briefing. "We need to make sure we don't lose ourselves in the process." As the Empire's main fleet approached, humanity faced a crucial decision. They could remain defensive, protecting Earth and its colonies, or they could take the fight to the enemy, using their unique advantage to strike at the heart of the Empire's power. The choice was complicated by Zara's intelligence about growing unrest within the Empire itself. Other species, sensing the possibility of resistance, were beginning to question their psychic overlords. The galaxy was a powder keg, waiting for a spark. Rohan found himself at the center of this momentous decision. The knowledge Zara had provided, combined with humanity's natural abilities, gave them a chance not just to survive, but to fundamentally change the balance of power in the galaxy. "Whatever we decide," he told the assembled Earth Defense Coalition, "we need to remember what we're fighting for. Not just our survival, but the right of every species to choose their own path." As the Empire's fleet crossed Jupiter's orbit, humanity prepared for the greatest fight in their history. But they had something the Empire didn't expect, not just resistance, but the power to fight back. The question was no longer whether they could survive, but how their victory might reshape the galaxy. In the quiet moments before the coming storm, Rohan and Zara stood together, physical and energy being, united by a vision of a future where freedom of thought was not just protected, but celebrated. The next phase of the war was about to begin, and with it, the true test of humanity's hidden advantage. The battle for Mars would be remembered as humanity's first true test. The Empire's fleet filled the red planet sky, thousands of ships moving with perfect coordination, a testament to their shared consciousness. Earth's forces, though fewer in number, held a defensive line that glowed with the quantum signatures of amplified human minds. From the bridge of the ESS Defiant, Commander Rohan Walsh watched as the Empire deployed their new weapon. Multiple quantum distortions forming, Lieutenant Santos called out, her voice steady despite the tension. "They're trying something we haven't seen before." The Empire had learned from their earlier defeats. Instead of direct psychic attacks, they began creating localized fields of distorted consciousness, spaces where human minds would find their thoughts scattered, their resistance weakened. "They're adapting," Zara's form flickered with concern as she analyzed the readings. "This is why the Empire has dominated for so long. They learn, they evolve." The first wave hit the Martian defense line like a tsunami of broken thoughts. 3 human ships fell out of formation, their crews struggling to maintain coherence. The Empire pressed their advantage, pushing through the gap with frightening efficiency. "All ships, fall back to secondary positions," Rohan ordered. "Activate the resonance protocols." Dr. Patel's latest innovation was about to be tested in actual combat, a way to use multiple ships' consciousness fields in harmony, creating interference patterns that could disrupt the Empire's attacks. The battle that followed would change the nature of warfare forever. Human ships moved in complex patterns, their crews combined consciousness creating waves of disruption that rippled through space. Empire vessels found their psychic links severed, their perfectly coordinated fleet falling into chaos. But the Empire's numbers proved overwhelming. Mars's orbital defense platforms fell one by one. The colony below, home to 3 million people, began emergency evacuations. Not everyone would make it out. Multiple breaches in the southern hemisphere, Santos reported, her voice cracking. Their landing forces. Ground teams report widespread psychic attacks on civilians. The loss of Mars struck humanity like a physical blow. Yet in defeat, they gained crucial understanding. The Empire's new tactics revealed weaknesses in their own psychic network, moments when their shared consciousness became vulnerable to targeted disruption. In the aftermath, as refugee ships streamed toward Earth, Zara revealed what she had discovered during the battle. Their adaptation comes at a cost, she explained to the gathered military leadership. By creating those distortion fields, they have to localize their consciousness. They become more individual, more vulnerable. Dr. Patel seized on this information. Working with Zara, she began developing a new approach to the consciousness amplification technology. If they could force the Empire to maintain those localized states, they might be able to break their unified control permanently. The personal toll of the battle weighed heavily on everyone. Rohan found Zara in the observatory late one night, her form barely visible against the backdrop of stars. "I've never seen death before," she admitted. "In the Empire, consciousness simply transitions. But humans, your deaths are so final, so complete. It's that finality that makes us fight so hard to live," Rohan replied, understanding for the first time how alien human existence must seem to her. The next few weeks brought a flurry of activity. Earth's remaining colonies were fortified with new defensive systems. The consciousness amplification technology was refined, allowing crews to maintain their psychic shields with less strain. But most importantly, humanity began to understand the true nature of their advantage. "We've been thinking about this wrong," Dr. Patel announced during a breakthrough presentation. "We're not just resistant to their control, our consciousness actually exists in a quantum state they can't fully perceive. Every human mind is a black box to them, unpredictable and therefore dangerous." This understanding led to a new strategy. Instead of trying to match the Empire's unity, humanity would embrace their individuality. Each ship would become a unique puzzle, its crew's consciousness working in ways the Empire couldn't predict or counter. Zara's resistance contacts within the Empire reported growing unrest. Other subjugated species, inspired by humanity's resistance, were beginning to show signs of breaking free from psychic control. The Empire's perfect unity was showing cracks. "They're afraid," Zara told Rohan as they reviewed the latest intelligence. "Not just of losing control, but of what it means. Individual consciousness, true free will, these are concepts that terrify them." The Empire's response to this growing threat was swift and brutal. They began targeting human civilian populations with increasingly sophisticated psychic attacks, trying to break humanity's will to resist. But each attack only served to strengthen human resolve. In a bold move, Rohan proposed a counteroffensive. Using data from the Mars battle, Earth's fleet would strike at key Empire control nodes, points where their shared consciousness was most vulnerable. It was a dangerous gamble, but staying defensive would only lead to slow defeat. The plan required something unprecedented, a direct interface between human and Empire consciousness. Zara volunteered to be the bridge, knowing the danger it posed to her own existence. "If we succeed," she told Rohan the night before the operation, "it will change everything. Not just for humanity, but for all species under Empire control." "And if we fail?" he asked, noting how her form seemed to resonate with his own consciousness now, their time together having created something unique. "Then at least we failed fighting for something worth believing in," she answered, her form brightening with determination. "The right to choose, to think, to be individual." As Earth's fleet prepared for their most daring operation yet, the galaxy held its breath. The Empire's perfect order was about to face humanity's chaos, and the outcome would determine the future of consciousness itself. The intelligence briefing that changed the course of the war arrived through Zara's resistance network. Deep within Empire territory, entire sectors were experiencing unprecedented psychic disruptions. Species long thought completely subjugated were showing signs of independent thought. It's spreading like a virus, Lieutenant Santos explained, displaying the pattern of disruptions across a galactic map. Each successful resistance creates a cascade effect in nearby systems. Humanity's defiance had sparked something unprecedented: hope. The Empire's perfect control was fraying at the edges, their unified consciousness experiencing gaps they couldn't explain. Dr. Patel called it the freedom resonance, a quantum phenomenon where exposure to truly independent minds created echoes of free will in controlled populations. Commander Walsh stood before the Earth Defense Coalition, presenting their most audacious plan yet. We've confirmed the existence of resistance movements on over 30 Empire worlds. They're disorganized, scattered, but they share one thing: they've learned to shield their thoughts using techniques similar to ours. The plan was dangerous to the point of insanity. Earth's fleet would push deep into Empire space, not to engage in direct combat, but to link up with these resistance movements. Each human ship would carry specially trained consciousness amplification teams, ready to teach other species how to break free from Empire control. Zara's role would be crucial. As a former Empire being, she could navigate their psychic networks, helping the human ships avoid detection. But each moment she spent connected to her former consciousness put her at risk of discovery. The Empire knows someone is helping humanity, she explained during the mission briefing. If they discover it's me, they'll try to reabsorb my consciousness. Everything I am would be lost. The revelation of what that would mean struck Rohan hard. Their connection had grown beyond mere alliance or even romance. Their consciousnesses had begun to resonate in ways neither species had thought possible. Losing her would be like losing part of himself. The mission launched under total communications blackout. 5 Earth ships, including the newly commissioned ESS Liberty under Rohan's command, slipped through the holes in the Empire's psychic network. Each vessel carried hope for a galaxy desperate to remember what freedom felt like. Their first target was the Centauri cluster, where 3 species had managed to maintain secret resistance cells. The Empire's control there was weakened by distance from their core systems, making it the perfect starting point for a revolution. Dr. Patel's latest breakthrough proved invaluable. She had found a way to encode the human method of psychic resistance into quantum data packets, information that could be transmitted directly to other species' consciousness. It wasn't just teaching resistance, it was sharing the very essence of free will. The first contact with the resistance fighters was both wonderful and heartbreaking. Species who had lived under Empire control for thousands of years experienced true individual thought for the first time. Many broke down, overwhelmed by the sudden weight of choice and self-awareness. It's like seeing color after living your whole life in grayscale, one resistance leader told them, her crystalline form shimmering with newfound independence. Painful, beautiful, terrifying, but we can never go back to the way we were. As they moved deeper into Empire space, Zara made a discovery that changed everything. The Empire's unified consciousness wasn't natural, it was maintained by massive psychic amplifiers hidden on specific worlds. Destroy those, and their control would shatter. But reaching those worlds would mean penetrating to the very heart of Empire space. Worse, Zara detected something ominous in the Empire's psychic communications. They were preparing something massive, a concentration of psychic energy unlike anything she'd ever encountered. They're trying to create a consciousness bomb, she explained, her form flickering with fear. A weapon that could potentially wipe out all independent thought in its blast radius. They'd rather destroy minds than risk losing control of them. The discovery forced them to accelerate their plans. The resistance movements would need to strike simultaneously, overwhelming the Empire's ability to respond. Each species would target the amplifiers in their sector, coordinated through a network of human consciousness interfaces. The scope of the operation was staggering. Millions of beings, their minds newly awakened to freedom, would rise up against their former masters. Success would mean the end of the Empire's dominion. Failure would mean the death of free will itself. As they prepared for the coordinated assault, Rohan and Zara shared a moment of quiet understanding. Their unique connection had become a symbol of what was possible, different forms of consciousness working in harmony rather than dominance. "Whatever happens," Zara said, her form intertwining with the quantum field of his consciousness, "we've proven that true unity comes from choice, not control." The signal was given. Across the galaxy, resistance forces began their attacks on the psychic amplifiers. The Empire's perfectly ordered realm erupted into beautiful chaos as billions of minds began to remember who they were. The revolution from within had begun, and with it, the final phase of humanity's greatest war, not just for their own survival, but for the right of all beings to think freely. The final battle for the galaxy's consciousness began in silence. 300 human ships, accompanied by thousands of resistance vessels from dozens of species, dropped out of hyperspace at the edge of the Empire's core systems. At their center, the ESS Liberty carried humanity's last, best hope, a weapon that could end the war not through destruction, but through awakening. Commander Rohan Walsh stood on the Liberty's bridge, watching the tactical display as the largest fleet ever assembled outside of Empire control moved into position. The Empire's response was immediate and overwhelming, tens of thousands of ships emerging from the quantum void, their unified consciousness burning like a psychic sun. "Consciousness bomb detected," Lieutenant Santos reported, her voice tight. "Energy readings are off the scale. They're going to try to end this with one strike." Dr. Patel's voice came through the command channel, calm despite the stakes. "The quantum resonance device is ready. But we'll need to get closer, much closer." The device represented everything humanity had learned about consciousness and free will. It didn't attack or defend, it awakened. By amplifying and broadcasting the quantum signature of free consciousness, it could potentially break the Empire's control over billions of minds simultaneously. But the cost would be enormous. The power required would burn out the minds of everyone linked to the device. The volunteer crew who would operate it knew they were on a one-way mission. Zara materialized on the bridge, her form more solid than ever before. "The Empire knows what we're planning. They're concentrating their psychic energy for a final attack. If that consciousness bomb detonates, it will enslave every mind within 50 light-years." The battle erupted across space. Human ships, their crews' amplified consciousness creating shields of pure thought, clashed with Empire vessels in a war unlike any the galaxy had seen. Around them, resistance ships struck with desperate courage, each crew fighting for the right to think their own thoughts. "Multiple breaches in the defense line," Santos called out. "Empire forces pushing through sectors 7 through 12. Rohan made the call that would be remembered for generations. "All ships, execute Protocol Omega. We go for the heart." The human fleet split into 3 groups. The largest would engage the Empire's main force, while a second would run interference against the consciousness bomb. The third group, led by the Liberty, would drive straight for the Empire's central consciousness amplifier. The cost was staggering. Resistance ships sacrificed themselves by the hundreds, creating chaos in the Empire's perfect formations. Human vessels, their crews pushed beyond normal limits, burned out their consciousness amplifiers rather than surrender their independence. Through it all, Zara maintained the quantum link that kept the fleet coordinated, her consciousness stretched between thousands of minds. "The strain is becoming too much," she whispered to Rohan. "But I can feel something changing in the Empire's network. Doubt. Fear. Individual thoughts breaking through." The Liberty took devastating hits as it pushed toward its target. Half its decks were exposed to space, and the consciousness shields were failing. But they had achieved what they needed, they were close enough. "Dr. Patel," Rohan called, "it's time." In the ship's core, Dr. Patel and her volunteer crew initiated the quantum resonance device. The effect was beyond anything they had predicted. A wave of pure consciousness, carrying within it the fundamental pattern of free will, erupted from the Liberty. The Empire's perfectly ordered psychic network shattered. Billions of minds, held in unity for millennia, suddenly remembered what it meant to think independently. The consciousness bomb, its control systems disrupted, imploded in a cascade of failed quantum states. But the victory came at a terrible price. The volunteer crew fell silent, their minds burned out by the power they had channeled. Dr. Patel's last message was a single word: freedom. Zara's form began to fade, the strain of maintaining the quantum link proving too much even for her evolved consciousness. "Rohan," she whispered, "I can feel them all awakening. It's beautiful." In a moment that would be debated by philosophers for centuries to come, Rohan made a choice. He linked his consciousness directly to Zara's, offering his mind as an anchor point. The feedback nearly killed him, but her form stabilized, now permanently quantum-locked with his own consciousness. Across the galaxy, the Empire's Great Awakening began. Species that had been controlled for thousands of years experienced true freedom of thought. Some planets fell into chaos, others celebrated, but all faced the same challenge: learning to live with the gift and burden of free will. The human fleet, what remained of it, limped home to Earth. They had won not through superior firepower or technology, but by sharing the one thing that made them unique: their capacity for independent thought. In the years that followed, a new galactic society emerged. The Consciousness Congress, as it came to be known, brought together species who chose to share their thoughts and experiences while maintaining their independence. Humanity, having proven itself not just capable of resistance but of spreading freedom itself, became a cornerstone of this new order. Rohan and Zara, their consciousness now eternally linked, led the effort to help newly freed species adapt to independence. Their unique connection, human and former empire, physical and energy being, became a symbol of what was possible when different forms of consciousness chose to work together rather than dominate. The Empire's perfect unity was replaced by something more chaotic but infinitely more valuable: a galaxy of beings thinking, choosing, and growing together. Humanity's dawn had become the galaxy's new day, and the light of free consciousness would never again be dimmed.